episode of Stardust Crusaders. As the sun sets on the Egyptian desert, Polnareff must contend with a powerful stand, Anubis, the god of death. It only makes sense that we would see Anubis in the Egypt arc, and it's a pretty unique stand to say the least. In fact, I don't even think this thing has a user. I actually think it's a possessed sword, which actually takes over people's bodies, which allows it to be used in battle. And it does have one special ability where it can actually materialize through objects and pretty much cut everything. But this week's episode was really brutal, and it also featured an incredible battle with Polnareff, which was a sword battle, which I always think is great because he himself is quite the fenceman. The introduction of the stand this week was pretty awesome. We see these Egyptian guys walking through the desert with their cow, and they're getting ready to head towards the market, when they suddenly find this lone sword hanging out in the middle of nowhere. And it's kind of like a combination of like a katana and a medieval sword with how it's designed with its sheath, its hilt, and the actual blade itself, which gives off an ominous purple glow. Now, at first, they almost can't even pull the blade from its sheath. In fact, one of the guys ends up cutting his hands, and finally, it's this one character by the name of Chaka, who's this very unassuming Egyptian kid who pulls out the sword and then accidentally kills his father, and then the sword ends up killing another guy by literally jumping from his chest and cutting this dude in the face. And then suddenly, this is when we learn that this blade is actually possessed by the Egyptian god himself, Anubis, and he's looking for people to control him. He takes over this kid who kills this other guy in what I thought was going to be one of the most overblown and violent scenes of the series, because JoJo is a series that loves to just randomly kill animals in the most violent fashion, and this guy is hiding behind this cow, and he's getting ready to cut him with the sword, and I think he's about to cut both of them in half at once, but this is like your very first clue to see how these abilities work, and it materializes through the cow and then ends up cutting the other guy in half. This all eventually leads up to this amazing action scene where this guy just immediately confronts Polnareff in these Egyptian ruins, which have these pillars erected up, and it's a great scene for a battle. The sun has set. It is epic. It's like a Western duel. And this is where we really get to see a lot of this guy's abilities in full swing, especially because he's fighting through the pillars. He's like fighting them on the opposite side so that he doesn't even know where the blade is coming. And the animation here looks really awesome. Definitely some of the best action that I've seen so far from the second half of Stardust Crusaders. I especially love the scene where Silver Chariot is going around the pillars and blocking all the different attacks as the blade is coming from all the different directions. And I think Polnareff had a really standout scene when he actually finished this guy off. He doesn't defeat the stand, but he does defeat the guy who was actually possessed by him, which is kind of messed up because Polnareff is technically kind of a murderer, and I don't even think he realizes that. But what happens is this guy jumps up on this pillar, and he's getting ready to slam it down on top of Polnareff, and Polnareff has this one ace in the hole ability with Silver Chariot, where it can actually fire its blade, and he uses that, and it ricochets off of a pillar, and ends up slamming into the neck of this other guy, ending this week's battle. Now, the episode just sort of ends with Jotaro and his friends suddenly arriving and meeting Polnareff and realizing that, oh, what the hell just happened to you? You just got into a crazy battle, you found a sword, and clearly Iggy knows something is up. He constantly keeps barking at the sword and getting really pissed off and growling at it, and it makes sense because Anubis is like a dog or a jackal. Iggy himself is a puppy, so he's definitely going to be able to notice this, and I'm really surprised they're not even picking up on the fact that Iggy is doing this. There are times when they are really dense in this series. And it is kind of interesting to note, too, that they actually did follow up on what's going on with Kakyoin. You know, in the last episode, he had his eyes slashed, and apparently he's going to be just fine. He knew a kid when he was younger who had a baseball smack him in the eye, and it looked like it was completely indented in his head. He was fine the next day. He's going to be fine. I'm sure we're going to see Kakyoin in another couple of episodes. Probably after this whole little Anubis arc, which is getting ready to start, which looks like it's going to be a two-parter. And I can't wait to see where it's going, because the episode does end on a cliffhanger where Polnareff and Jotaro are getting ready to go and get rid of this sword. However, it looks like the sword is slowly taking over Polnareff a little bit. That is until they go to a barbershop where he's getting ready to freshen up, and he's getting ready to have one hell of a close shave because the sword possesses this one guy, and he's getting ready to decapitate Polnareff, ending this week's episode. So what's the rundown? On this week's episode of Stardust Crusaders, it was good. It was awesome. I love when the action focuses on Polnareff because I love Star Platinum, I love its punches and everything, but I love the way they animate Silver Chariot, just all of its crazy poses and the way it uses its sword with its fencing style, and that move where it ricocheted off the pillar, freaking just, that was so awesome right there. I love that. The whole concept of Anubis, I think, is really interesting. You know, as the episode was going on, I kept thinking to myself, where's the stand user? Is he just, like, leaving the sword for people to find, and then he's able to control them when they pick it up? No, I still strongly believe that Anubis himself is actually controlling the sword, and this might be, like, you know, something kind of special from the other stands that we've seen in the series. This is a stand that does not have a user. It works on its own, but it still needs people in order to make it work, and I think that's pretty interesting. The animation, the artwork was really awesome this week. I especially loved the location that they were battling in the Egyptian ruins with the pillars and the hieroglyphics all over the place. It made for a really attractive place to battle, and frankly, it just looked really freaking awesome. This week's episode also made a little bit of room for humor at the beginning. If you wanted to see Iggy farting on Polnareff's face again, you're definitely gonna get it. But this week's episode was great. 5. That's right, my friends. Really good episode that you should definitely check out if you are following the series. Check it out, guys. Good stuff. Thank you guys for watching my review. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and like the video. And before you guys leave, please tell me what you thought about this week's episode of Stardust Crusaders. What did you think of the Anubis stand? And what do you want to see from the rest of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Stardust Crusaders? Remember, guys, if you have not subscribed to our channel yet, what the hell is wrong with you? You can do it. It's real easy. All you gotta do is click on the channel icon. It's right up here. It's real easy to do. That way you can see all of our latest anime and manga reviews and our brand new podcast show. You guys can also follow us on social media like Facebook and on Twitter.